Well, a moment has finally come where we're going to try and prepare this engine and transmission to go in the car. I don't quite have the fuel system finished, but what I would like to do, I think, is get this engine transmission in place, and then that will aid me with the final routing and length determination for the fuel lines that we're going to rig up in the car. I've done some pre-work on this. Of course, I did a early on, when I got it, I did a compression test. It turns over fine. It passed a compression test. I have engaged the clutch and I have tried all the gears. The transmission turns over fine in all the gears. Everything seems like it's technically operational, but there are a bunch of things left to do. Oh, I did a bunch of cleanup on here to get grease and stuff off of the engine, and even though it looks like a horrible mess, it's actually quite a bit better than it was. I still see a few things like back here on these back manifold bolts that I want to clean up a little bit, because there's an excellent chance that the fuel injectors are no good in this setup, and then I'm going to have to pull the upper intake off in order to get at them. One of the things about an engine and transmission assembly like this is, who knows when it was last run, who knows whether any of these bolts will come out of it. So if we're just trying to figure out whether the thing runs and get a sort of a temporary stock setup in the car, we would like to disturb the least of it that we honestly can. The studs on this passenger side header they look unserviceable to me. So I guess I'm going to try and get this header off. In order to do that, we're going to have to get the engine set up on stands or something so I can get the weight off of the crane, because this engine lift point is it uses header bolts for that. So we're going to have to do that. I'm going to get these Thermactor stuff off. It's already been squeezed off. It's no good, but I have the correct plugs, and getting this out of here will just reduce the amount of stuff that's in the way. This setup's never going to end up with a Thermactor in it again anyway, so we'll get rid of that. And I have pulled the fuel risers off. That's in preparation for putting the custom fuel lines in. I'm going to use the stock rails and regulator for this combo, but I have the special Russell fittings that will plug into the factory fuel rails, and then an AN hose end will thread on to the end of those. So I've got the risers off in preparation, and I just plugged the rails. You know, the bouncer doesn't look great on this thing. I honestly can't remember if I need to pull accessories off the front, but I think I'm going to start out, there's no rad or anything in the car. I think I'm going to start out by trying it with the accessories on and using these factory lift points. And with any luck, we can drop it in with the accessories on. Because, like I said, the more stuff you go to take off of an engine like this, the more likely you are to break a bolt off or whatever. And I mean, God knows whether I can get this header off successfully. It's a real question mark. So, but these studs look terrible. I got another set of headers here. The other side looks like it's serviceable, so I'm going to leave that. It looks like it's probably harder to try and replace the studs than it is to pull the header off completely. Or by harder, I mean more likely to have a disaster trying to replace the studs than it is to just pull the header off and replace it. There's a realistic chance that with air tools that these header bolts will come out. You know, if you've been paying attention, there wasn't a shifter on this transmission when I got it. I found this shifter as part of the parts bill. I put it on, but it's just snugged in place. I'm going to RTV this like it's supposed to be. I'm going to get the fluid out of the transmission and have it replaced. I've got this yoke in the back here, which will stop it from spilling out when we go put it in, but I'm going to put the fluid in while it's suspended, and I'm going to get the fluid out of the engine as well, the engine oil. We're just going to leave the engine oil out to put the engine in the car. Then we'll put engine oil back in it in order to try and start it. That's where we're at. Let's start fixing a couple of these things, and we'll see how we do. Well, I've done a lot of prep work on the car and on this engine, and I guess we're about ready to start trying to put it in the car. I don't have great confidence in the engine, whether it's going to run or not, but here's what I know. It's supposed to be a high mile 5.0 HO. It has all the appearance of being a 5.0 HO, including, looks like it has the correct pistons when I peered in there with an inspection camera. But I'm still not really sure what it is. The block's been painted, so that shouldn't have been painted if it was a 5.0 HO. So somebody's had it out and painted the block for sure. It's got 14-15 header gaskets here, which are not stock. These are good replacement gaskets, but these are not stock gaskets. And the header on the passenger side here was terrible, so I pulled it off and I put another one that I had on the shelf on here. The header came off real easy, which suggests to me that maybe it's been apart recently, that part. There is an intake manifold spacer, an upper to lower intake manifold spacer, like a phenolic spacer in there. So somebody has monkeyed around with that. Who knows? It's got this Ford Mini starter on here. It's highly unlikely that that was original on the engine. And it appears to be a non-AC Mustang setup. The accessory drive is certainly a non-AC Mustang accessory drive. So who knows for sure? But whatever it is, I guess we're gonna slam it in this car. I've done a whole pile of work on the car to get it ready to accept an engine. We'll finish off a fuel system, and then we'll see if this engine runs finally. It's been hanging on the hook here for a year, and it's been a constant source of wonder whether this is a runner or not. Okay, what could go wrong with this stunt? Well, I'd say the number one thing that's going to go wrong is the fuel injectors could be bad. If they don't work, the engine's not going to run no matter what. I pulled the vanity plate, the nameplate off of the intake to make it a little easier to get at if we have to pull the intake off to change out injectors. I got another set of injectors kicking around here, which it might be just as bad, but I know that they were in a perfectly good running car when I took them out, so hopefully they're all right. The balancer isn't very nice. We're not going to beat this engine up. We're just going to try and get a runner out of it, so I don't think that's going to matter for now, but if we were going to do something more serious, we definitely want to replace the balancer. And to be perfectly honest, I can't remember whether I can get the engine in the car with all these accessories on the front. There's no rad or anything in the car. But I guess we're going to try it like this because I would like to take the least amount of stuff off of the engine that I can in order to reduce the chances of breaking something when we take those things off. So wish me luck. Next step is throw it in this car and see what happens.